So for step 4, attaching the pinion gear. Well, we're going to grab our motor. We've got a motor plate. We've got A13, which is going to help with our placement of the pinion. You can see there. And then we have a choice, because in the Bigwig kit, you get a 13 and a 15 tooth pinion. Now, I wasn't sure which one I was going to go for, but after consulting a number of different forums, it looks like I'm going to go with the 13 tooth pinion. Sounds like it provides the sort of the best range of not only speed, but torque. And I think teamed with this nice GT tuned Bigwig specific motor, I think it'll probably be the ultimate choice. Now, I can always change it up. If I want to see how fast the Bigwig can go, I can switch it to the 15 tooth. But for now, we'll just stick with that. So that means we've got our motor plate, our pinion, our motor, etc. So I'll set this up and let's put the pinion on. So here we go. Here is our Bigwig special edition of the GT Tune motor. Very, very cool. This is so awesome. So first off, we're going to need to get this rubber boot off. So I'm just going to grab the pliers, grab the boot, and pull. There we go. That part's done. So what do we need to do? We need to get this motor plate on. And you can see the way the holes are. We'll have to figure that one out as we go, but the motor plate is going to end up sitting either there or there. And based on how that is, I'm not sure which way we're going to go. It may not, it really doesn't matter, I don't think. Then we've got this piece here, which is going to help with making sure that we get the pinion aligned, because you can see there's our motor plate, there's that piece right there, and then the pinion is going to attach to it. Now, what I like to do is get the grub screw started so that I'm not messing about trying to fit that on. So if I've got this all the way through, I'm just gonna, there we go, I can see it now. I'll back it off a bit. I'm going to put that onto here. So again, you can see that that is fitted right to the back, just like you're seeing there. That just needs to sit there. So I'm going to hold that, but first just make sure I've got the flat spot. Come on, where is our flat? There it is. So I'll put that back onto there, that onto there, hold that. Now I'm just going to first of all make sure that it actually is sitting on the flat. So you see, if I put this on there, and I can turn the shaft itself with the pinion, so I know that that's pretty much the correct placement, because I know that can only slide on one way. So I'm going to hold that tight. Actually, I'll do it this way. Knowing that that's there. Yes, you can see that's nicely on the flat. I'll keep that on there for now, but I'm going to now turn this and tighten it up. Now what I tend to do is just make sure that this really is on, so I tighten this up quite a bit. You can kind of feel it pulling, so you know that it's on. And I'll go as far as I can. Yeah, that feels right. So now I can move that off, and you can see where the pinion placement is supposed to be. And of course, this is just going to flap around for now until we figure out this. But it's obvious, it doesn't really matter, I don't think, which way it's going to fit onto the gearbox, but we'll see. But that means that the pinion gear is attached. So step 4 is complete. So now we're going to move on to step 5, and we're going to attach the motor to the gearbox. So for step 5, attaching the motor. Well, you can see that there are two parts to this, but this part is for using the 15 tooth pinion. So we're only going to be worried about this top part. So you can see here that the motor is going to go through into the gearbox, and then we have these 4 set plates. And based on the 13 tooth pinion, all 4 are on one side and the screw goes through at the top. Whereas you could see with the 15, they want 2 aside and it fits in the middle. So it's just adjusting based on the pinion size. But we're going to go with all 4 on one side, the screw goes through at the top. So you can see the screw is going to go through and through a washer, through this, basically it's another washer, which is a plastic yellow piece, and then through and into the motor. Now, one thing that I found interesting is this washer right here. I couldn't find it in the bag anywhere, and I was beginning to wonder where on earth it was. Well, they actually put it in with the bag of ball bearings. I don't know why, but it's in there. Took me a bit to figure out why, but it's if you're not finding it, you'll find it with the bearings. So that's all the hardware that we're going to need for this step. So I'll set this up and we'll attach the motor to the gearbox. So as you can see, they're showing that with the gearbox, they want you to pull out the propeller shaft in order to do this step. So I'm just going to pull that out. We can put that back in afterwards. And you can see that this is now going to fit into the gearbox at this point, but it looks like they want you to grease up the pinion as well, which we'll do. Not going to go crazy. There's obviously enough on the other gear inside, but you can see that we've got our motor plate. It's got to find, we need to put it on, and then this is going to slide through. Now, I think what I'm going to do is, you can see the BA2 is the smaller of the 2 screws. So we've got a brass tube that you can see here. It fits here and all the way through. So you can see it, you see it on the other side. And then that screw is going to go through there and attach to the motor. So knowing that, I think what I'll do is we're going to more or less attach that or put it in place so that we actually can get let's see if this is going to be that way. Let's put it in, I think, that way. See, remember, there are, on this one, there are 2 holes on either side. I don't think it matters which. They've never said, so I'm just going to put it into the top hole. And we're going to screw that one in. Make sure that that sits in there. Now, I'm not going to go all the way because obviously we need to make sure that this will fit through on the other side. But you can see that we've got 4 of these set plates, and based on what they wanted, they need to be all at the bottom. So we'll put one in there. Actually, let's sit it this way. One in there. 2, 3, and 4. So you can see that the set plates, all 4 of them are down at the bottom. Now we're going with this longer BA1 screw. I'm just going to lightly put that there. we've got it to go through the BA12, the actual metal washer. Then it's going into A6. So now we're into the plastic washer. So just like that. And now this is going to fit through the top. And now we've just got to match it up with the hole for the other side, hopefully. Oh, there it is. And screw that down. Okay, so now I can tell that they're both screws are in. So I'm going to tighten this one up. And I can tighten this one up now. Perfect. That is in there nice and tight. That's ultimately what it's going to look like. It feels right. And these are locked, so I know that the pinion has definitely attached itself to that. So we're good to go. So that's awesome. So the only thing left to do is we need to put our propeller joint back in there. And there we go. So there is our GT Tune Bigwig specific motor attached to our gearbox. Super, super cool. So that means that step 5 is complete. So now we're going to move on to step 6 and start working on the front gears.